Now we will go straight into public participation, and I'd like to begin by welcoming Sarah Gilbertson, who would like to talk to us on restrictions on entry to public facilities. So Sarah, you've got 5 minutes, and I will give you an indication when we're getting close to the end of that time. Kia ora, over to you.
Kia ora koutou katoa. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to speak today. I ask you to put aside your own preconceived ideas, open your mind and listen. Today, I represent a group of concerned health professionals. As providers of healthcare and regular readers of academic literature, we are struggling to understand the policy of COVID vaccine passes, or CVPs, for accessing council facilities. This is a policy that flies in the face of Te Whare Tapa Whā, a model of health that acknowledges not just our physical and mental health, our tinana and henengaro, but our connection to wairua, spirit, and whānau, family and friends. This policy is denying Wellingtonians access to services, equipment and facilities that will not only negatively impact their physical health, but their ability to participate in local community. Participation is one of the key principles of Te Tiriti o Te Waitangi, a principle that is usually promoted by City Council policy. For some elderly residents, the CVPs mean a loss of social connection. It means not being able to access a safe space with Wi-Fi for some of our vulnerable youth, and for some children, it means being told you can't participate in school trips. The use of CVPs is founded upon a false premise, the premise being that the vaccine reduces transmission. The idea of the vaccine pass is that if you are in a place with only those that are vaccinated, you will have virtually no risk of catching COVID-19. This is simply not true. The Pfizer injection does not provide sterilising immunity. A study published in The Lancet has shown that the viral load between the vaccinated and unvaccinated is almost the same with the Delta strain, and new evidence is showing that with Omicron, the viral load is higher in the vaccinated than the unvaccinated. Professor Cyril Cohen, an immunologist and advisor to the Israeli government, has recently said, if your objective of the health pass is to generate a safe environment for those who are vaccinated, I think that is no longer the case, because unfortunately, people who are vaccinated, even with 4 doses, can get contaminated. Also, people who feel well and do not have any symptoms are not a respiratory health threat. The exaggerated hype of asymptomatic transition, that is, healthy people with no symptoms being spreaders of disease, is simply not borne out by the evidence. A study of 10 million people in China found no asymptomatic transmission of the COVID-19 virus. So if we have established that the unvaccinated are at no greater risk of catching and spreading COVID-19 than the vaccinated, and those without symptoms are not a threat to others, then what is the scientific justification for the CVP? This is a policy that promotes discrimination and segregation, which is in direct contravention to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The CVP policy limits the freedoms of those who exercise their right to say no to a medical intervention for whatever reason, be it medical or religious. To say you must do something before you are allowed access to a place is called coercion. Is it really okay to favour the rights of the majority over the minority? Which brings us to the issue of process. The COVID-19 protection framework does not require the use of CVPs in public facilities. It is our understanding that it is up to each local council to decide whether they implement the use of CVPs. In Wellington, the decision has not been voted on and there has been no public consultation. As a council, you have abdicated your decision-making responsibility and could be held in breach of the Local Government Act should a judicial review be undertaken. We understand that the Council were trying to do their best to protect the health and safety of Wellingtonians, but on closer inspection, this is a policy of discrimination and segregation dressed up in the guise of health. In the words of C.S. Lewis, of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. As it stands, Requiring a COVID vaccine pass to access council facilities is a breach of Te Tiriti o Te Waitangi, a breach of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the way this decision was made could be viewed as a breach of the Local Government Act. We, along with the 900 signatories of the tabled petition, urge you to reconsider your stance and rescind the CVP policy so council facilities and services are open for the health and well-being of all Wellingtonians. Thank you for your time.
Oh, kia ora, that was perfectly timed. You fit completely within the 5 minutes. So thank you very much for being succinct. Unfortunately, there's not time for questions because you've used that full 5 minutes. But thank you for taking the time to come and kōrero with us today.
Thanks.
And now I'd like to welcome Helen Waddington, who is speaking to us on the restrictions on entry to public facilities. No, my Helen, just trying to find you on the screen.
So can I just say, Helen has presented a presentation that Sean is going to play for you. That is her 5 minutes.
Okay, so Sean's going to play that now. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And I believe you have the petition?
I think that is being tabled, yes.
Yes, and that was sent through.
Yes, and it's been sent through to council as well.
Yes.
So thank you, Sarah.
Can I just say,
that now?
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm a student who's been affected by the vaccine mandates. I can no longer go down to the library. I can no longer go down to Newtown Park and do athletics. I can no longer hang out with my friends at the swimming pool or the rec centre. I can't play sport for my school because I can't enter council facilities. Sport is my form of escapism. It really helps with my physical, mental, social and spiritual well-being. I think you should stop only considering physical health and start also considering emotional, spiritual and social health, because they are all important aspects of our well-being and they all must be balanced for our well-being to be sufficient and good. I'm a healthy 17-year-old who poses little threat to the community. If I'm sick, I would obviously stay home because I want to protect my loved ones in my community. But since I don't have COVID, what you're doing is discrimination and segregation. There's no reason why a healthy 17-year-old should not be allowed to enter council facilities. Please reconsider your decision because it's having an effect on people like me's mental, emotional, social and spiritual well-being. Thank you.
Kia ora. I have 4 children under the age of 11. Due to the Wellington City Council's use of vaccine passes, I can no longer take my children to the Wellington Regional Aquatic Centre, the Recreation Centre or the local libraries. This has a negative effect on the well-being of our whole whānau. I'm frustrated that my children are unable to play at the pools or continue with their swimming lessons. They are not able to enjoy the rec centre or borrow books from the library to grow their love of reading. The Wellington City Council facilities are supposed to be for everyone. Please let us back into the facilities. Healthy people are not a risk to the community.
My name is Julie Richards. I'm a wife, mother, athletics coach, and up until recently I was employed by Wellington City Council as a group fitness instructor working at Freiburg and Kilburley Athletic Centre. On December the 3rd I had to give up a job that I loved and had done for many, many years. I'm also an Athletics New Zealand accredited athletics coach. Due to Wellington City Council making Newtown Park a vaccine pass site, I am no longer to enter an outdoor facility that is empty most of the time. The impact of this is not just on me, but it affects the athletes I coach. I now coach from outside the fence. It's ridiculous and achieves nothing, as I have contact with these athletes before training and after training sessions. I also coach primary and intermediate age children, but as they're not a suitable age for me to coach from outside the fence, I have had to cancel their training sessions. There is no one to replace me, so they are left without a coach, and they are now effectively locked out of their sport. On top of this, I am the children's manager at the athletics camp, and the vaccine pass has made it incredibly difficult for me to do my role effectively. I would like Wellington City Council to consider the negative effect the vaccine pass is having on so many people's lives. I would also like them again to look at their risk assessment and assess whether it is necessary to mandate an outdoor athletics track, as many councils in New Zealand have not done so. Thank you.
My name is Will. I'm a Lyell Bay resident. I'm an everyday user of Lyell Bay Beach. So in summer, swimming is great. But in winter, I would go and use the Freiburg pool and sauna on Oriental Parade. Now, I am somehow too unsafe for the Wellington City Council to attend their facilities. This is completely wrong. I urge the councillors to vote to reopen all facilities to all Wellingtonians. Thank you.
Kia ora, my name's Chelsea. I'm currently out in Lyall Bay with my young family and we've been affected by the Wellington City Council's restrictions on facilities. Last month I went to go to Kilburnie Rec Centre for a 6th birthday and I wasn't allowed in because I didn't have a vaccination passport. I'm currently not able to get out books, which I have done every month for 6 years. I cannot go to Kilburnie pools. I've paid rates for 15 years. And I do not deem myself as a risk. That's because of a lot of research I have done. And I challenge Wellington City Council to ask questions on why we may have such opinions as we do. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm just strongly opposed to any form of segregation in society. Thank you for listening.
I have been a Wellington resident and ratepayer for 28 years. My employer recently put me on unpaid leave because some of their operations take place on Wellington City Council facility. The Pfizer injections are ineffective in stopping both infection and transmission. Most infections occur among fully jabbed people. I urge the council to put themselves on the right side of history and abolish their shameful and illegal apartheid policy.
I'm a Wellington resident who's been affected in 3 ways by the vaccine mandates. One of those ways is my access to Club Active Gym, which gave me access to the Kilburnie Recreation Centre, the Karori swimming pool and the Freiburg pool over on the Oriental Parade. Can't use any of those venues right now, even though I'm a paying member. I chose to use that gym for the purpose of health, and they do say about coronaviruses in general that obesity is one of the issues that affects people's immunity. Secondly, I've lost access to the Kilburnie Recreation Centre. I was part of a music club there where I'd occasionally get up and sing and play guitar, and other people would also have a turn as well. So it was a good little thing I used to do on the weekend. And then finally, the libraries. So before the first series of lockdowns in 2020, I was an SL teacher where I used to teach international students. I would take those students to the Manners Street pop-up library. Can't do that anymore. Can't even use the library myself. So those are 3 ways I've been affected. It just doesn't make sense for somebody to be told you need to be vaccinated in order to protect somebody else. The whole idea of a vaccine is that it's supposed to protect you. Whether you take it or not has no impact on the next person. The whole idea of it doesn't make any sense. That's all I'd like to say. Thanks very much.
Kia ora koutou. So that was Helen's presentation, because that fit within the 5 minutes. So thank you very much, Helen.